You've been doing everything the way they told you. You eat breakfast. You stay away from the drive-thru. You even skip the sugar more often than not. Your pantry is filled with foods that promise heart health, and your fridge holds cartons marked low-fat and whole grain. You've followed the rules, so why does your body still feel like it's working against you? Why does the swelling in your hands feel worse this year than last? Why is it getting harder to bend, to stretch, to stand up without that tight burn behind your knees? You brush it off, tell yourself it's normal, just age, just stiffness, just part of the morning. But deep inside you know that something else is at play because it didn't used to feel like this. What you're sensing isn't age. It's a quiet storm, slow, steady inflammation, building inside you with each meal you thought was safe. And the place it often starts? Right at your breakfast table. It hides behind words like healthy, light, and natural. It wears the disguise of yogurt cups and wheat toast, of fruit juices and cereals with smiling hearts on the box. You don't notice it at first, but inflammation doesn't need a spotlight. It moves in shadows, settling into your joints, your gut, your bloodstream, until suddenly you wake up wondering how you got here. This isn't about panic, it's about seeing clearly. Because the foods you once trusted may no longer serve the body you live in now. Not because you failed, but because your body changed. And what nourishes you at 65 is not what sustained you at 40. Your body is still speaking to you. It always has been, but now it's whispering a little louder, and all you have to do is listen. It doesn't happen overnight. There's no grand signal, no flashing red light. Just a slow change in how your mornings begin. A stiffness that doesn't wear off after the first stretch. A sense of heaviness that wasn't there a few years ago. You wake up more tired than when you went to sleep. The rings that once slipped easily over your fingers now sit tight against swollen knuckles. Your legs take a few more seconds to get going. Your breath catches a little quicker on the stairs. It all feels small until it doesn't. Because one day you notice that your energy feels like it's trapped beneath a blanket of something you can't name, and that something is inflammation. It starts with whispers, the kind you can ignore at first. Maybe you think you just slept wrong. Maybe the weather shifted. Maybe it's just getting older. But your body is wiser than that. It's not just complaining, it's trying to protect you. Because inflammation is the body's alarm system. A signal that something's off, and when it lingers, when it becomes chronic, it turns from healer to saboteur. It stops fixing and starts burning. That morning, yogurt, that glass of juice, that slice of toast, they don't look dangerous. They look familiar, safe. But for a body in its 60s or 70s, with slower digestion and shifting hormone levels, the same foods that once fueled your day might now be stoking the very fire your body is trying to put out. And it's easy to miss that connection, to keep chasing more sleep, more coffee, more pills, when the real answer might be hiding right there on your breakfast plate. The body doesn't shout, it whispers, it waits, it trusts that one day you'll begin to listen. You sit down in the morning and reach for what feels familiar. Maybe it's the multi-grain toast you've eaten for years. Maybe it's a bowl of cereal labeled heart healthy. Maybe it's a little fruit cup or a smoothie you picked up from the store. You think you're doing the right thing, starting the day clean, light, smart. But what if that very habit, the one wrapped in labels and comfort, is the same one keeping you inflamed? Because the breakfast table is where inflammation quietly tightens its grip, not through junk food, not through obvious choices, but through meals that wear a disguise of health. It's hard to question the foods we've trusted for so long. They came with doctor recommendations, magazine articles, decades of routine, but your body doesn't follow trends. It follows chemistry. And for seniors, especially those managing blood sugar, blood pressure, or chronic pain, the chemistry of breakfast matters more than ever. A bowl of cereal may look innocent, but it can flood the bloodstream with fast-burning sugars that trigger a cascade of inflammatory responses before you've even gotten dressed. That toast? It might break down faster than table sugar in your system, setting off another wave. Even the fruits you choose, depending on the kind and how they're prepared, can spike insulin and stir the fire further. This isn't about living in fear, it's about waking up, because breakfast isn't just the start of your day, It sets the tone for every cell in your body. It determines how you'll feel by lunchtime, how much pain you'll carry by evening, how well you'll sleep when night comes. And the foods you welcome in the quiet of morning, they don't just fill you, they teach your body what kind of day it's about to have. It's not always the white crystals in the sugar bowl that do the damage. Sometimes it's the sugars that hide behind health halos, the ones packed into fruit on the bottom yogurts, granola bars, instant oatmeal, and those natural juices with smiling labels and golden promises. They don't taste like dessert, but your body doesn't care. It reads them the same way. The moment they pass your lips, your system scrambles to manage the sudden surge, releasing insulin, triggering inflammation, and starting the roller coaster that leaves you tired, foggy, and aching before noon. You might think you've done your part by skipping donuts and pastries, but inflammation isn't just fed by sweets you recognize, it's fed by sugars you don't see, the kind buried in ingredients lists under names like maltodextrin, cane syrup, dextrose, or agave nectar. They are woven into your breakfast like threads in a familiar quilt, comfortable, trusted, and silently corrosive. Especially as you age, your body's ability to manage sugar becomes less forgiving. That same breakfast that once gave you energy now leaves you with swelling fingers, tender joints, or eyes that struggle to stay open just hours later. You've felt it, haven't you? That crash after a healthy breakfast, the hunger that returns too soon, the puffiness in your face, the way your stomach rebels. But because it wasn't cake or candy, you don't question it. You think maybe you're just sensitive, just stressed, just tired. But your body is asking for something different. Not a quick hit of sweetness, but steadiness. Not artificial fuel, but healing. Because inflammation doesn't come from sugar alone. It comes from the illusion of safety. And the most dangerous sugars are the ones that wear the mask of wellness, slipping in quietly while your body bears the cost. You've been told whole grains are the smarter choice, that swapping white bread for wheat toast or sugary cereal for something brown and crunchy would protect your heart and steady your energy. And for a while it may have seemed true. But now you notice something different. You finish your breakfast and feel heavier, not fuller. Your knees creak more on the stairs. Your hands feel thick, like they're wrapped in invisible gloves. And yet, all you had was whole grain toast, maybe a little oatmeal, maybe a bran muffin from the bakery that claimed to care. But the truth is, not all grains nourish, and not all whole grains are whole. Many are pulverized into fine flour that digests quickly, flooding your bloodstream like sugar. Even the ones labeled clean often come packed with additives, preservatives, and seed oils that inflame instead of heal. For the aging body, especially one managing insulin resistance, arthritis, or cardiovascular strain, these grains can become a hidden trigger. They don't look threatening, but they ask your system to work harder, spike your glucose, and often leave behind a fog that settles in your joints, your gut, your brain. It's not about swearing off every grain forever. It's about understanding which ones still serve you and which ones now work against your healing. Because the cereal aisle doesn't adjust for age. The toast you loved in your 40s may now be the thing keeping your inflammation alive at 70. And the moment you begin to notice that cause and effect, the morning muffin and the afternoon pain, you're not being picky. You're being wise. Because food doesn't just feed hunger, it feeds the fire or calms it. And your breakfast, it holds the match. It starts small, a splash of milk in your coffee, a slice of cheese folded into an egg, maybe a creamy yogurt that promises gut health. These are the little comforts of breakfast, the familiar anchors. And for years, they seemed harmless, maybe even healthy. But now, something's shifted. You notice the way your stomach tightens a few hours later, the slow bloat that gathers beneath your ribs. Your knees feel stiff, your fingers more swollen than usual. And though you can't quite pinpoint why, something about your morning feels heavier than it should. Dairy is a complicated visitor in the aging body. What once digested easily can, over time, become a subtle saboteur. Pasteurized milk, heavily processed cheeses, and store-bought yogurts often carry more than just calcium. They carry hormones, preservatives, thickeners, and inflammatory proteins that your gut may no longer tolerate. And the signs don't always scream. Sometimes they whisper through fatigue, sinus pressure, skin flare-ups, or the quiet ache in your joints that shows up by mid-morning. You've likely heard arguments on both sides. Some say dairy is essential, others say it's poison. But your body doesn't live in extremes. It lives in experience, and what it's telling you now may not match what worked 20 years ago. That morning yogurt with the fruit on the bottom, it's not just sweet, it's layered with sugars and milk solids that spike inflammation. That non-dairy creamer with the long ingredient list, it may not be milk, but it still sends your system into confusion. You're not being dramatic for questioning it, you're being present. Because when your body starts resisting the very foods that once brought ease, it's not betrayal, it's wisdom. And listening to that wisdom might be the first true act of healing your mornings have seen in years. It smells like tradition. The sizzle in the pan, the sharp comfort of bacon, the familiar spice of sausage links crisping on the stove. Breakfast meats are wrapped in memory. Sunday mornings, family tables, full bellies before long days. You might still reach for them out of habit, out of routine, out of a desire to feel full and grounded. But your body knows something your memories don't. It knows what happens after the last bite, when the nitrates settle in, when the saturated fats begin to thicken your blood, when the hidden preservatives start to fan the flames of inflammation already burning quietly within you. These meats are no longer what they used to be. The bacon from decades past is not the bacon in your fridge today. It's been pumped, preserved, cured with chemicals that go by many names. Names that sound distant but live close to your joints, your gut, your heart. The sausage that used to fuel your mornings now brings bloating, pressure, stiffness in places you can't stretch out. It's not just fat. It's the chemical burden that your older organs have to work twice as hard to clear. And with every passing year, that burden feels heavier. You don't need to abandon flavor or fullness, but you do need to pause, to ask what your breakfast meats are made of, how they're processed, and how your body responds, not in the moment of chewing, but in the hours that follow. Because inflammation doesn't just rise from sugar, it rises from the things we trust, the traditions we cling to without question. And sometimes, healing starts not by adding more, but by letting go of what no longer feeds you in the way your body now needs. It doesn't look dangerous. It sits quietly in the bottle, golden and slick, poured into the pan without a second thought. Canola oil, corn oil, soybean oil, the so-called vegetable oils that line the shelves with labels that whisper health and neutrality. You use them to cook your eggs, brown your toast, grease your waffle iron, or bake your better choice muffins. But behind their clean image lies a deeper story, one your body knows intimately, even if your mind's never been told. These oils aren't what they seem. They've been refined, bleached, deodorized, stripped, and reassembled in ways your cells can barely recognize. They're rich in omega-6 fatty acids, the kind that, when left unbalanced, ignite the body's inflammatory response like dry twigs catching fire. You may not taste it, you may not smell it, but once inside, they oxidize, spreading free radicals through your bloodstream, irritating the lining of your blood vessels, and signaling your immune system to go on the defensive. At 25, your body had more room to buffer the damage. At 65, the margin is thinner. The liver is more sensitive, the gut wall less resilient. The same oil that once browned your potatoes now turns up the internal heat, swelling your joints, tightening your chest, clouding your clarity. And yet, it's still marketed as safe, as standard, as smart. But smart doesn't mean suitable. Not for your body, not now. The truth is, what you cook in is just as important as what you cook. Because oils don't just sit in the pan, they become part of your cells, your blood, your breath. And the wrong ones, they don't feed you. They burn you from within. You reach for it because it sounds safe. Low fat, sugar-free, light. These words have followed you for decades, printed in bright fonts and backed by promises. You've been told they're better for your heart, your waistline, your blood pressure, so you choose the light yogurt instead of the regular, the sugar-free creamer instead of whole milk, the low-fat muffin over the full one. You do what seems wise, what sounds careful, but what your body experiences tells a different story, one that unfolds slowly, quietly, with symptoms you can't quite name. Because light doesn't always mean healing. Often it means replaced. What's been removed, fat, sugar, cream, has been filled in with something else. Gums, stabilizers, synthetic sweeteners, artificial flavors. These substitutes are designed to fool your tongue, not nourish your system. And for the aging gut, they can trigger confusion, gas, bloating, brain fog, a vague, unshakable discomfort that lingers long after breakfast has ended. Your body isn't just digesting calories, it's decoding signals. And the signals from these artificial compounds often scream chaos. They disrupt the gut microbiome, strain the liver, and send inflammation quietly rippling through the bloodstream. You might not link that stiffness in your back, that pressure behind your eyes, or that tired heaviness to the tiny cup of light yogurt you had this morning. But your body does. It connects the dots you've been told to ignore. You were never wrong for trying to eat better. You were just handed the wrong map, because true nourishment isn't found in low-fat labels or clever packaging. It's found in foods your body understands, whole, clean, honest. And when you stop chasing light, you might just find what truly brings relief. You don't always feel it in your stomach. Sometimes it starts in your head, a fog that creeps in by mid-morning, a sadness that comes out of nowhere, a burst of irritability that surprises even you. Other times it's in your skin, your joints, your breath. But often the root is the same, your gut. That quiet, twisting world inside of you is more than just digestion. It's your second brain, your immune powerhouse, your first line of defense. And every bite you take at breakfast either nourishes that world or shakes it. Inflammation doesn't begin with a bang. It begins in the imbalance, when gut bacteria that once protected you are replaced by ones that stir discomfort. When sugar substitutes, processed grains, and refined oils pass through like invaders instead of guests. When the lining of your gut, already thinned by time and stress, becomes more porous, letting the wrong things slip through. Your immune system notices. It sounds the alarm. And what starts in your belly spreads into your bloodstream, your joints, your moods. You've likely heard phrases like leaky gut, gut health, or microbiome thrown around. But this isn't just trendy language. This is your body's ecosystem. And by the time you're in your 60s or 70s, the gut needs more care than ever. That innocent breakfast bar, that sugar-free yogurt, that white toast, they may be small, but they carry big consequences for the inner world trying so hard to protect you. The aches in your fingers, the swelling in your legs, the way your thoughts feel slow or sad after breakfast, these aren't random, they're messages. And your gut, with all its wisdom, is trying to speak. You just have to be quiet long enough to hear it. You finish your breakfast, clear the dishes, and settle into your day. But then it starts. The creeping heaviness in your arms, the quiet ache behind your eyes, the fog that seems to spread across your thinking like a film. Your shoulders feel tense, your energy dips, and your stomach begins its slow protest. You think maybe you didn't sleep well. Maybe it's just the weather. Maybe age is simply catching up. But what if it isn't any of those things? What if what you're feeling isn't random at all, but a direct response to what just entered your body? Most people don't realize that inflammation doesn't wait for the next day to make itself known. It responds in real time. Your body is talking to you within hours, sometimes within minutes, of eating. A flood of insulin, a spike in cortisol, a ripple of gut disruption that throws off everything from your joints to your thoughts. You've likely felt it, that strange mix of fullness and fatigue, the way your legs feel heavy, your brain slower, your mood quieter than it should be. It's not all in your head, it's in your chemistry. We're taught to see breakfast as fuel, but fuel can burn clean or leave residue behind. And when your system is already more sensitive, already carrying years of small accumulated damage, even one poorly chosen meal can tip the balance. Not because your body is broken, but because it's doing what it's supposed to do, protecting you, warning you, showing you what works and what doesn't, with every sensation that follows your first bite. You don't have to be a nutritionist to understand this. You just have to pay attention, because what you feel after you eat isn't random. It's your body showing you the truth. It's never just one meal, it's the rhythm, the pattern, the way habits layer over time like soft dust that becomes concrete. One morning of toast and jam doesn't break the body. One sweetened yogurt isn't the villain, but when those choices repeat, day after day, month after month, they begin to leave a mark. Not one you can always see in the mirror, but one you feel in the way your knees don't bend like they used to, in the way your skin seems puffier, your mind slower, your heart heavier. Inflammation builds in layers. A spoonful of added sugar here, a pour of refined oil there, a grain that spikes your blood sugar more than you realize. It doesn't announce itself with a roar. It gathers like clouds, slowly blocking the light until you forget what clarity felt like. And because the change is gradual, it feels like aging. But it's not just time, it's chemistry. It's the silent math your body has been doing for years. This isn't about guilt. This is about grace. Because you didn't cause this, you trusted what you were taught. You believed the packaging, you followed the advice, but now you know more. Now you can see how small daily choices, especially in the morning, either cool the fire or keep it burning. That's the gift of accumulation. Just as damage can add up, so can healing. One better breakfast won't fix everything, but it will start something. It will shift the tide. And when you string those better mornings together, the body begins to respond, the clouds begin to lift, and the inflammation that once felt inevitable becomes something you can influence, one calm, quiet choice at a time. It doesn't want trends. It doesn't want the diet of the month or the expensive powders they advertise with big promises and small print. Your body, after all these years, isn't asking for perfection. It's asking for peace, not punishment, not deprivation, just calm, just clarity, just food it can understand, and breakfast is the first chance to listen. Your body wants what makes it feel safe, not what spikes and crashes, not what inflames or confuses. It wants fiber, not the kind that comes in a bar or a powdered scoop, but from real, grounded food. Think flax seeds and chia, sautéed spinach and berries with their skins intact. It wants protein, not the over-processed breakfast meat made in factories, but something clean, like pastured eggs, wild-caught fish, or a handful of soaked nuts. It wants fats, yes, fats that heal, olive oil, avocado, almond butter without the added sugar swirl. And it doesn't want this in complexity. The older body thrives on simplicity, on fewer ingredients, fewer steps, fewer shocks to the system. A warm bowl of oats cooked slowly with cinnamon and crushed walnuts can do more than any multi-step smoothie packed with powders and artificial sweetness. A poached egg with greens and olive oil can settle the gut far more than a low-fat muffin with a hidden chemical cocktail. What you might not realize is that your body has been forgiving you for years, working overtime to make do with what you've given it. But the cracks are showing now, and instead of breaking down, it's trying to break through, to get your attention, to ask for something gentler, slower, more honest. And when you give it that, just one breakfast that feels like nourishment instead of noise, you'll feel it. In your breath, in your belly, in your brain. You'll feel the inflammation ease, even if just slightly. And that shift will matter, because healing doesn't begin in a hospital bed. It begins at your table. And the table your body wants now is quieter, simpler, and closer to the earth than it's ever been. Imagine waking up and walking into a kitchen that feels like a sanctuary, not a battleground of labels and confusion. No buzzing microwave reheating packaged health. No plastic cups of flavored yogurt waiting in a fridge full of marketing claims. Instead, you step into a slower rhythm. You feel your feet on the floor. You smell something warm and earthy on the stove. Your breakfast isn't just food, it's an invitation. On this new morning table, the noise is gone. There's a bowl of sautéed greens, spinach or kale or even chard, softened gently in olive oil with a pinch of garlic and a hint of lemon. You didn't count the calories. You noticed how it made you feel. Next to it, a couple of pasture-raised eggs, boiled, scrambled, or gently poached, sitting with quiet dignity. Their yolks aren't something to fear anymore. They're fuel for your mind, for your joints, for your memory. A slice of avocado, creamy and rich, drizzled with olive oil or sprinkled with pumpkin seeds. A small bowl of berries, not blended into sweetness but whole as they came from the earth. You drink warm herbal tea instead of cold orange juice, and your stomach doesn't lurch from the sugar spike. Your body feels still. You chew slower. You breathe deeper. You begin to understand that healing isn't about erasing all pleasure. It's about choosing pleasure that doesn't punish you later. That first bite doesn't just satisfy your hunger. It signals to your nervous system that the storm is passing, that the fire is calming, that the body can stop bracing for what's coming next. This table doesn't require money or perfection. It requires presence, a return to what's real. Maybe you start with just one thing, swapping your toast for greens, your flavored yogurt for plain, your creamer for something your gut won't fight. You don't need to do it all at once. You just need to begin. Because your body is listening, and every new morning you give it something real, it responds with something even greater, relief. And slowly, day by day, you rewrite what breakfast means. It's no longer just the start of your day, it's the start of your healing. Maybe you've already heard that voice in your mind, the one that says, it's too late now. Maybe you've looked at your age, your medications, your blood work, and thought, what difference could one breakfast make? But that voice isn't your truth, it's your exhaustion. It's all the years you've carried silent symptoms without clear answers. It's the weight of trying, failing, and trying again. And yet, despite all of it, your body has not given up on you. It's still trying, still communicating, still healing in every way it can. And it's not too late, not even close. Because the body doesn't live in the past. It lives in this moment, in this choice, in this bite. You may have eaten thousands of breakfasts that stirred inflammation instead of soothing it, but none of them cancel out the one you can have tomorrow. Healing is not about undoing everything that's happened. It's about doing something today that changes the direction of where you're going. When you choose to stop pouring canola oil into your pan, your cells notice. When you replace sugar-drenched yogurt with a handful of berries and a spoon of ground flax, your gut breathes easier. When you stop fearing healthy fats and start welcoming avocado, salmon, or chia into your morning, your brain lights up. And when you stop chasing light foods that trick your body and start feeding it truth, something shifts. Your energy steadies. Your stiffness begins to melt. The bloating subsides. Your mood lifts, not because of magic, but because inflammation starts to fall. It doesn't take long for the body to respond. The moment it feels safety, it begins rebuilding, quietly, steadily, relentlessly, and you begin to remember what it feels like to wake up and not dread the day, to walk without pain, to think clearly, to feel like yourself again, not the version you've tolerated, but the version that was waiting underneath. You don't need a perfect diet. You don't need a shelf of supplements or a prescription for every symptom. You just need to start one morning, one choice, one breakfast that feeds your healing instead of your inflammation. Because you are not too late. You are right on time. And your body, even after everything, is still on your side.